Hi, it's Grandpa Butler. Thanks for joining us. Another art lesson for my grandkids and friends. And I have three groups of watercolor crayons here, water-soluble crayons. This first group here we're going to use to get our squirrels. Second group to get the mountains behind them. And the third group to get the foreground, forest and meadows. And these are the squirrels. Instead of drawing them real time, we did that in advance. And instead of getting the sky here well, we'll get it in real time. Normally, I don't do skies much with my watercolor crayons just because they take a long time. But hey, let's do sky today. See how it works out. So where the mountains and the animals aren't, the sky will be. How's that? It sounds like a proverb. Maybe that's Proverbs section 118, verse 52. You'll have to look it up and see if I remember that correctly. But thanks. So there we got our sky. Okay, blue sky, and that's these are typical watercolors, and I just dipped it in there and got some blue and put it on in a single pass. But what we want to do is we want to do the squirrels. So let me bring down my squirrel colors. The squirrels here are western squirrels, fox squirrels, and a lot of them are brown and gray. So instead of getting the gray parts gray, I like to use maybe a little bit of blue. And what Grandpa will have to do is he'll have to be very careful not to put too much pigment down when he does the blue. So I'm just putting my water-soluble pigment down on the paper here. And that's the areas that will be sort of this light ochre color. Face, part of the ear. The edge will be a darker brown. It'll look like I got a darker brown out too. And underneath here is a lot of white. Okay. This one squirrel's inside the tree and one squirrel's kind of looking outside. And here's the outside tail. Kind of there's some reddish parts of this, particularly the tail. It looks just magnificent. So, and especially as it comes around here on the squirrel's back, I want to put some pigment in there to make the contrast. And and moreover, that's kind of the way it looks. And there's a little bit of red in here. I want to mix it with my ochre color, just get that kind of impression, and maybe a little bit there and there. And then we have some brown spots here, right? We have brown here at the bottom. We have brown in the tail, particularly around the edge of the tail here. And we have brown around the ears. So let's go. Now getting the pigment down looks like it can't be too precise, but I'm not worried about precision as much as just having fun. Nonetheless, we are going to use our brush when we brush it to be a little bit more precise on where the pigment goes when we come down here. Tail area back here is very dark, and around here, and this particular one has some kind of hints of blue in them that I want to emphasize just for fun, because that would be kind of a blue, fun color to see in here. In here where his foot is, and under here, a little bit of blue here on the front of his legs and under bottom. Come back and maybe get a little bit more brown on his feet here on the very end, and on the far side of the feet here. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that. This guy here, we got the ochre on it. Let's get some browns on the outside. And here's the brown here around the ears, just like his brother, his or her brother. And we'll work this through here. And then what we're going to have here is I'm going to have some kind of dark blue here. And I'll just put heavy pigment here around where the head is sticking out through the hole in the tree where the squirrels nap and hide. So we've got that done. Let's get out a brush. This is the brush I like to use for this kind of exercise here. And again, better, I think, generally to dab than to run all these colors into each other, and when they turn into sort of a nondescript gray, you do that. So we're just dabbing there. We're kind of following the pigment lines on the squirrel's back there and there, and we'll bring that underneath. So that kind of blue kind of also reminds us there's some shadow of a basically white furry section underneath here, and some reds in here. So we get our water-soluble crayons and dip them through here, and then just have a lot of fun. There's a lot of ways to do this, and I decided to experiment. Started with these water-soluble crayons in May 2021 with an idea of doing ink and water-soluble watercolors here. And my lovely wife and daughter-in-law suggested that I'd like to have Grandpa teach them lessons on how to do this stuff. So that's what we're doing here. Okay, so I am happy enough with that. Now let's go to the tree here, and the tree is going to be some of these same colors here, and I think we're going to have this darker ochre here, and see, I'm trying to follow the lines here, but I'm not going to be too worried about it, so I'm going to be quick about it, and we'll brush it up and then see what else we need to do. It's like the 7 bridge problem, right? 7 sections of the city, 4 bridge problem. What sort of sparked the mathematics of combinations and graph theory? Okay, so here we're going to do the underside of the tree here. So there's kind of some dark browns. I'll get hints of dark browns here and there, and lighter browns, and then some of the same kind of colorings. And so let's pretend our squirrel here is in shade, so we don't worry about coloring them too much with respect to lights and darks here. Okay, so there we got that. So next thing to do is maybe dabble a few more things. You could put some little reds in here and other colors on the trees, and I would if I probably wasn't worried about taking up too much of your time, your busy lives. I just want to show you how easy this is to do. Notice I'm leaving a lot of the pigment behind as part of the way I like to do this kind of art. So we'll start up here and come down and come down here. Do I have my thick brush? No, I have my really thin brush. Okay, so we're going to dab some water here and there so we can normally I think it might be a good idea just to dab within each little circle of brown, but We got to get on and get the mountains, right? So much for trees. We got to love the mountains too. So Grandpa is finishing up here the trunk of this tree with a squirrel inside the trunk and on the limb. And he's headed towards the mountains behind. Show the colors for the mountains here. And I'm going to get a darker blue. Ultramarine blue here. And it's going to be the edge of the mountains. And I'm going to make the edge of the mountains kind of a function of where I did the watercolors there. And this will be a slightly darker color than the sky behind it. So these are going to come down. So when you're wondering about mountains, do triangles and do little squiggly lines here, lines going up and down. So darker cliff spaces here, going up here, and an edge down there. Okay. Okay, so here's some mountains over there. And what I want is some kind of sun hitting the mountains. I want a little pinkness here and there. And I have it coming in from the right, I think. I'm going to put some little pinkness there. And it comes in from the right. And otherwise, if it's not illuminated so much by the sun, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a turquoise blue, a light blue, kind of on the left sides, and that will indicate kind of where it's more shadowy, and there's different kinds of areas. So let me also put a line down here to indicate where our trees is, in fact. And I don't even mind if we draw in some of our edge of the forest trees. In fact, we can put some up into the mountains and leading down to the edge of our, there's our forest, and it's the edge of a meadow here. Okay, so let's put some pine trees coming down here and some over here, and we'll put a mountain on either side of that. And a mountain, put some on either side of those pine trees. So let's go back and get our blues here and come down here. So that's what I meant here by doing that and coming down. And I think now we're going to get finally our turquoise blues involved in this. And that's just to change it up. Just Grandpa thought it would be fun to try, so let's try it out. See what happens. I'm enthusiastic. So just so you know, Grandpa, this is all real-time, unrehearsed, unedited, and so Grandpa makes tons of mistakes he regrets later, but tries not to waste too much of your time when he does it. So let's light that up and see where we're at. And then we'll put in our metal in front here. So now I'm dipping my brush in. I actually don't think that's my big brush. Said this was real time, and I was serious, folks. Okay. Well, that makes it a lot faster. So, okay. If you just give me your email on this episode here, I'll send you a refund for all the money you paid for it, because I've wasted, I don't know, 35, 40 seconds of your time because I didn't have the right brush at the right time. Right? And that's, I don't know if that's excusable or not. You can let me know, particularly my grandchildren. Did you forgive me? Yes, Grandpa, we forgave you. We know that you're so prone to mistakes. Yes, I am. I'm the only one in the world that is. Okay, so that kind of livens that up, right? So come down here. I have just such lovely grandkids. I'm sure all grandkids everywhere can be lovely, lovely people. And I hope you are. lighten up this turquoise blue, lighter blue here, and give our, so notice I'm not getting rid of all this pigment here because it helps define where the mountains are. Okay, now we'll come up and get our little forest of trees. Now here's a good point to dab and not to run a line, except at the very bottom, right? When you're at the very bottom here, you can run a line through to sort of suggest where the tree line of trees ends and the meadows begin. And here we go with our squirrels. This is a squirrely bunch. Here we have a request by one of the people where I volunteer from, highly respected men, and one of the highly respected men and women that I volunteer with and work with. And there's kind of our meadow there. You know what? I think that maybe in the meadow we want a few clumps of bushes, so let's just put a few clumps of bushes here and there. Run our line back over here, and then get our big brush sincerely and come back here. Now, okay, around those bushes I do want to just dab and dab here. So the final stage here will just be, final stage here will just be touching up here and there. And let me just run just the crayon over the bark here on the edges, so we sort of reinforce this idea of this roughed edged bark here and there, and on the tree. Now, this is really, relative to the rest, this is kind of time consuming, so okay. Yeah, I like that a little bit, I think. And the edge here of this branch. Okay. So there we have our little guy. And thank you for watching. Bye-bye.